We need innovative concepts for our upcoming season, she explained during my termination. Someone who understands contemporary market dynamics. My name is Nathan Blackwell, 42 years old, head product designer at Vertex Expedition Equipment in Denver for 8 years. Or at least I was until that Tuesday morning when Sophia called me into her office with Greg from Human Resources already waiting beside her. I'd sensed the inevitable for months, ever since Sophia became design director, bringing her luxury consumer goods sensibility to our technical outdoor brand. Everything I designed, functional, resilient, engineered for actual wilderness conditions, suddenly wasn't visionary enough. Your aesthetic doesn't align with our evolving brand direction, Sophia continued, sliding the severance paperwork toward me with her immaculately polished nails that had never gripped an ice axe or belaying device. I nodded, maintaining a neutral expression. 8 years of my designs had established this company's reputation amongst serious adventurers. The Trailmaster Backpack series was my creation. The convertible alpine outerwear system that earned 3 international innovation awards was mine. But none of that seemed to matter anymore. I thanked her for the feedback, gathered my sketchbooks, disconnected my tablet, and walked out. What Sophia didn't know, I'd been quietly developing a collection on my own time. Designs Vertex had rejected, claiming they were too specialized or not aligned with our target demographic, designs I still believed in. As I drove home, my phone chimed with a text from Mark in product development. This place just made the biggest mistake in its history. I learned design at my father's workshop in Montana. He crafted custom fishing boats, teaching me that function determines form. No unnecessary elements, no decorative flourishes, just purpose made tangible. I carried that philosophy through design school and into my career. When I joined Vertex, they were floundering. Good materials with mediocre design execution. I rebuilt their entire product language from first principles. The CEO back then, Richard, understood what I was doing. Make gear that performs first, looks good second, he'd said. The people who actually use our equipment in the field will notice. He was right. Within 4 years, our sales had tripled. Outdoor enthusiasts trusted the brand because the product solved genuine problems. The Trailmaster backpack distributed weight so effectively that expedition leaders specifically requested them for high-altitude climbs. The Alpine outerwear system adapted to changing conditions without adding unnecessary bulk, award-winning innovation born from understanding actual requirements. Then Richard retired. The company brought in Diane as CEO, who hired Sophia from the consumer fashion industry to elevate the brand. Suddenly, meetings revolved around aesthetic trends rather than performance specifications. My designs were questioned, then sidelined. The newer designers, mostly recent graduates with digital portfolios but minimal field experience, started receiving the premier projects. 4 months ago, I submitted concepts for our next generation of technical alpine gear. Sophia dismissed them as uninspired. The following week, I saw her present remarkably similar concepts to the executive team, credited to Adrian, her recent hire from a premium sportswear brand. That night, I called Rachel, an old friend who'd moved to Summit Ridge Outfitters, Vertex's main competitor, as their materials innovation lead. "How's your contract looking these days?" she asked after I explained the situation. "No non-compete," I replied. Richard thought they were counterproductive. Rachel went quiet momentarily. "Interesting. Very interesting." The termination package was fair enough. 4 months' salary and extended benefits, professional courtesy for 8 years of service. I signed the documents without protest and drove home in silence. My apartment felt different that afternoon. More confined, yet somehow more liberating. I spread out the sketches Sophia had rejected over the past year across my drafting table. There were 15 concepts in total, each meticulously detailed, each addressing specific challenges for serious outdoor enthusiasts. Snow tapped against the window as I studied them. I'd been designing as if I still worked for the old Vertex, the one that valued function and durability. But that company didn't exist anymore. It had transformed into something else, chasing trends instead of serving needs. My phone rang at 8 p.m. Chris Donovan, design director at Summit Ridge Outfitters. "Rachel tells me you're available," he said without preamble. "Says you're the real genius behind Vertex's golden era." I said nothing, just waited. "Got anything worth showing?" he continued. "We're planning our winter collection. Could use some authentic innovation." I looked down at my rejected concepts. I might have a few ideas. Send them over tonight. If they're solid, we should talk. After we hung up, I spent 4 hours refining 7 designs, not altering the core concepts, just sharpening the presentations. At midnight, I emailed them to Chris with simple annotations explaining the functionality behind each one. Then I went to bed and slept better than I had in months. The next morning, I woke to an email from Chris, my office, 9:30 a.m., bringing contract details. I showered, dressed in my field jacket and hiking boots rather than business attire, and drove to Summit Ridge's headquarters on the other side of the city. The receptionist led me directly to Chris's office, a space filled with material samples, prototypes, and field-tested equipment. Not sleek and minimal like Sophia's. Chris gestured to a wall where he'd mounted printouts of all 7 of my designs. These solve challenges we've been tackling for 3 seasons, he said simply. Especially this one. He pointed to the centerpiece of my collection, an integrated alpine system that adapted to different elevations and conditions without compromising mobility. How soon can you start? He asked. I'm available immediately. He nodded once. Good, because we're going to accelerate these. Very accelerate. For the first time since Sophia arrived at Vertex, I smiled. 1 week into my new position at Summit Ridge, I received a call from Aaron, Vertex's production manager. We collaborated closely for years, balancing innovative design with manufacturing realities. Nathan, this is unofficial, she said quietly. But things are unraveling. Adrian's designs look impressive in renderings, but they're nightmarish to manufacture. The materials don't perform as he expects. The prototype backpacks are testing almost 3 pounds heavier than specified. Not my concern anymore, I replied, though a part of me still cared. Sophia is claiming you left the team without proper documentation on your production processes, Aaron continued. She's telling executive leadership that you deliberately sabotaged the transition. That made me sit up straight. That's completely false. I know, but she's persuasive. Diane asked me if there was any merit to it. My blood ran cold. This wasn't just about moving on. Sophia was actively undermining my professional reputation. Against my better judgment, I emailed Diane requesting a meeting to clear the air. She agreed to coffee the following morning. The cafe was crowded, which I thought would be advantageous. Neutral territory. Public space. Diane arrived 15 minutes late, already checking her watch. I'll be direct, I began. I've heard Sophia is suggesting I deliberately left the team without adequate documentation. That's not true. All my files are methodically organized in the shared drive, and I personally trained Adrian on my processes before I left. Diane nodded, her expression unreadable. She mentioned you might become defensive about this. Look, Nathan, the outdoor equipment industry is small. I'd hate to see your reputation damaged by this unpleasantness. The threat was barely concealed. Stay quiet, or we'll make this difficult for you. I appreciate your concern, I said carefully. I'd hate for Vertex to waste production resources on designs that can't actually be manufactured effectively. Her eyes narrowed slightly. We'll manage our production challenges internally. Thank you. I do hope you'll be discreet about company matters going forward. As she left, my phone vibrated with a text from Chris. Contracts approved. We're fast-tracking your Alpine collection. I watched Diane's retreating figure. She had no idea what was coming. 3 days later, I received a certified letter from Vertex's legal department. They were reviewing my employment history regarding potential confidentiality concerns. The letter carefully avoided making direct accusations but implied I might have violated company policies. I showed it to Chris, who immediately handed it to Summit Ridge's legal team. Standard intimidation tactic, their counsel explained after reviewing it. They have no case. The designs you're creating for us are original, and you had no non-compete clause. They're trying to intimidate you into backing down. Should I respond? I asked. No. We'll handle it. That evening, the lawyer sent a simple, devastating reply to Vertex. We have extensive documentation of Mr. Blackwell's rejected designs while at your company, along with the dates they were submitted and subsequently dismissed. We would welcome the opportunity to compare those with your current product development timeline in court. 2 days passed with no further communication from Vertex. Then Aaron called again. What did you do? She asked. Sophia had a closed-door meeting with legal, and she came out looking like she'd seen a ghost. I said nothing. Just watch your back, she warned. She's not giving up. 2 days later, Rachel invited me to lunch. We met at a sandwich place downtown, far from both our company's headquarters. "You need to see this," she said, sliding her tablet across the table after ordering. It displayed Vertex's internal marketing brief for their winter collection. Somehow, Rachel had obtained it. I scrolled through and stopped cold when I saw the mock-ups. They were my designs, the exact concepts Sophia had rejected 5 months ago, now rebranded as the Ascent series, with Adrian's name listed as lead designer. "They're planning to launch in November," Rachel said quietly. "Full marketing push. They've already ordered materials." The realization hit like an avalanche. She had rejected these designs, knowing she'd use them later. She just didn't want me to get the credit. Rachel nodded. "Appears that way. But here's something else you should know." She took the tablet back, opening another document. "Summit Ridge is planning to fast-track your collection. Chris convinced the CEO to accelerate production. They can have your designs on the market by October." I sat back, processing this. A month before Vertex launches. Yes, and with proper attribution to you as designer. Rachel looked me straight in the eye. "But you need to decide now. Once production begins, there's no turning back." I didn't hesitate. "Let's do it." That evening, I called Chris and formally accepted Summit Ridge's accelerated timeline. The contract included something Vertex had never offered: royalties on each unit sold with my designs, plus creative control over the final production specifications. "We're calling it the Apex series," Chris explained, "and we want your name prominently featured in the marketing." 2 days later, I signed the paperwork at Summit Ridge's headquarters and handed over my complete design files, not just concepts, but detailed production specifications, material requirements, and manufacturing guidelines. When I got home, there was an email from Sophia in my personal inbox. "Nathan, I hope this message finds you well. I was reviewing some of our upcoming designs and realized we might benefit from your expertise in a consulting capacity. Would you be open to discussing this?" I deleted it without responding. The following week, I toured Summit Ridge's manufacturing facility with their production team. They'd never attempted anything like my integrated system before, components that worked independently but functioned optimally as a cohesive unit. The lead engineer, Vivian, pulled me aside after the tour. "These designs are revolutionary," she said bluntly, "but they're also extraordinarily complex to manufacture. If we're really hitting the October deadline, I need you in this facility every day. Whatever it takes," I told her. For the next month, I worked 14-hour days. I slept on a sofa in the facility office 3 times when we were testing weatherproofing systems. The production team grew to respect me when they saw I understood the practical challenges they faced. Unlike Sophia, I didn't dismiss manufacturing concerns as someone else's problem. Halfway through the process, I received another email from Diane. "We should discuss your current activities for your own professional future." Another threat. Another attempt to control what they discarded. I forwarded it to Summit Ridge's legal team without comment and kept working. Summit Ridge moved with remarkable efficiency. Within 3 weeks, they had prototypes of my technical collection. I spent days in their workshop, fine-tuning details, working directly with their production team to ensure every specification was perfect. The Apex series consisted of 6 interconnected products: an adjustable alpine backpack, all-weather outerwear with interchangeable components, high-performance footwear, ergonomic expedition equipment, and specialized accessories. Each piece functioned independently but performed best as a system, something I'd been trying to get Vertex to understand for years. Chris brought me into marketing meetings, something Sophia had never done, and listened when I explained the practical benefits that should be highlighted. "These aren't fashion statements," I told their team. "They're tools for people whose lives may depend on their gear in extreme conditions." In late September, whispers began circulating in the industry. Retailers who'd received preview samples of the Apex series were impressed. Online forums buzzed with speculation about Summit Ridge's unexpected direction. Then came the call from Erin at Vertex. "Nathan? Did you?" She stopped abruptly. "Never mind. I shouldn't be asking. What's happening over there?" I asked, though I could guess. "Diane saw Summit Ridge's preview catalog," Erin said quietly. "The Apex series is remarkable. Sophia is in complete panic mode, claiming they stole concepts from us." I remained silent. "The thing is," Erin continued, "we both know these aren't stolen from Vertex's current concepts. They're your original designs, the ones Sophia rejected, aren't they?" I can't comment on that, I replied carefully. You don't have to, Aaron said. Your name is on them. Clear as day in the catalog, designed by Nathan Blackwell, former lead designer at Vertex Expedition Equipment. It's brilliant. The following day, Diane herself called. I let it go to voicemail. Her message was terse. Nathan, this is extremely unprofessional. We should discuss this situation immediately. Instead, I drove to Summit Ridge's headquarters for the final product launch meeting. The marketing campaign was ready. The manufacturing lines were set. In 2 weeks, the Apex series would hit specialized retailers nationwide, 1 month ahead of Vertex's planned launch of the suspiciously similar Ascent series. The night before our launch, I couldn't sleep. 8 years at Vertex, countless prototypes, hundreds of sketches. All that work had led to this moment, not the way I'd expected, but perhaps the way it needed to happen. At 4:30 a.m., unable to rest, I drove to a mountainside trail outside the city, the same trail where I'd tested many of my early Vertex designs. Dawn was breaking as I hiked to the overlook. The air was crisp and cold, exactly the conditions my Alpine system was designed to handle. My phone vibrated. A text from Chris. It's live. Website just launched. First orders already coming in. I stood on that ridge watching the sunrise, feeling a strange mixture of vindication and melancholy. I hadn't wanted it to end this way with Vertex. I'd given that company everything, but they'd chosen Sophia's vision over mine. Style over substance. Now the market would decide which approach was right. By the time I hiked back to my car, I had 23 missed calls from industry journalists, outdoor bloggers, and gear reviewers all trying to get the story behind Summit Ridge's unexpected new collection. And one message from Sophia, you've made a serious mistake. I finally called her back. No, I said when she answered. You did. The Apex series launched on October 5th. By noon, Summit Ridge's website had crashed 3 times from traffic volume. Their customer service lines were overwhelmed with retailer calls trying to increase their orders. I watched it unfold from Chris's office as outdoor magazines and gear reviewers published their advanced reviews. Revolutionary, game-changing, sets a new standard. My name appeared in every article. For days after the launch, Adventure Outdoors magazine ran a feature comparing the Apex series to leaked images of Vertex's upcoming Ascent series. The headline said it all, separated at birth? The curious case of 2 identical product lines. The article didn't explicitly accuse Vertex of theft, but it raised questions about the timeline, noting that I had designed both collections, though Vertex was crediting Adrian for their version. Outdoor forums exploded with speculation. Industry insiders who knew me from trade shows connected the dots immediately. Social media filled with side-by-side comparisons and pointed questions about intellectual property. Diane called again. This time I answered. This is completely unacceptable, she began without greeting. You've deliberately undermined our company. I designed products for a company that hired me to do exactly that. I replied calmly. Products you're now selling under someone else's name. We'll need to discuss legal options, she threatened. That would be interesting, I said. I have emails from Sophia rejecting these exact designs 6 months ago. What would a court make of the fact that you're now producing them with someone else's name attached? Silence stretched between us. You should have valued what you had, I added quietly. Good luck with your launch. The following week, Vertex announced they were postponing the release of their Ascent series for additional refinement. Industry analysts saw it for what it was, a retreat. By December, the Apex series had broken all previous quarterly sales records for Summit Ridge. My royalty checks reflected the success, already exceeding my annual salary at Vertex. Chris promoted me to design director, giving me a team of 8 designers and complete creative control over our next 3 seasonal collections. Rachel transferred from materials to join my department as technical advisor. Vertex eventually released a hastily redesigned collection that bore little resemblance to my work. The reviews were lukewarm. Their stock price dropped 12% the following quarter. I ran into Sophia at an industry conference in Salt Lake City that winter. She was at the bar alone, nursing a drink. As I walked past, "Congratulations on your success," she said, stopping me. Her voice carried no warmth. I nodded but said nothing. "You could have stayed and fought for your designs," she added. "Why didn't you?" I considered this for a moment. Some places don't deserve the fight. She flinched slightly, then composed herself. Diane is stepping down next month. The board asked me to take over temporarily. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Good luck, I said, and meant it. The industry needs strong companies. 6 months later, I received an unexpected package. It contained all my original sketchbooks from my time at Vertex, along with a handwritten note from Aaron. These belong to you. Sophia's gone. Just thought you should know. I opened one book to a concept I'd drawn 3 years earlier, a modular shelter system for extreme conditions. Something I'd never shown Sophia. That evening, I called Chris. I have an idea for our fall collection, I said. The following spring, Summit Ridge's stock value had doubled. Vertex announced they were restructuring under new leadership. I didn't follow the news too closely. I was too busy designing what came next. Sometimes at night, I still think about my years at Vertex. Not with bitterness anymore, but with clarity. They taught me something valuable, just not what they intended. In this industry, in life, your work speaks for itself, when given the chance. Sophia tried to silence mine, but in doing so, she only amplified its voice. The best revenge wasn't in proving her wrong. It was in finally finding a place that recognized what I had known all along. Good design isn't about following trends. It's about solving real problems for real people. And that, in the end, is what endures.